see. Come on.
Welcome everybody to Musical Orbit's webinar with the Vida Guitar Quartet. They're all here, squeezed into a lily pond by the looks of things behind us. We have Mark, Amanda, Chris and Mark. Thanks so much for joining us, guys. Where are you right now?
We're in Oxford. This is where we kind of rehearse, not on a weekly basis, but when we rehearse, we get together in someone's garden. We're in a garden shed, believe it or not, at the moment, in the middle of Oxford, a friend's house, and a kind of convenient way to meet up and rehearse.
And is the concert in Oxford today, or is it just rehearsals today?
Tomorrow we have a concert in Bristol, tomorrow lunchtime at St George's.
And so on a concert day, how do you prepare? Do you all aim to arrive at the same time and then lunch, or is it not that civilised?
Oh yeah, food is very important.
Food.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we really can't start anything until we've had about 3 coffees, and then and then you know, a huge amount of banter and stuff like that, and then we sort of get down to it. So there is a bit of a ritual, you know, but food and coffee is a huge part of that, and a little bit of alcohol. But that's at the end.
Yeah, I was going to say before, during, or after the concert.
Yeah. Well, after, I suppose. Let's say that. That's the official line.
I think we don't really have any kind of rituals. I mean, we try and sometimes it depends on whether we've got new repertoire, I suppose, how long before we want to kind of meet. I mean, sometimes it's literally might be an hour and a half before the concert that we actually kind of meet, and depends whether the program's been up and running for a little while. But we don't. I think it's quite dangerous sometimes to have rituals, because then and they're always broken the whole time. It doesn't matter whether it's traffic, whether something's late, or whether, I don't know, someone's tripped and fallen and broken a leg. I don't know. Whatever. It's difficult to kind of keep to any regime, I think.
I was going to ask, as I'm a string player as well, and I have great trouble coming straight into a venue. It's always cold. My hands are cold. You must have that problem as guitarists, do you? Do you have any top tips for warming your hands up?
Actually, it's really weird, because I mean, we used to always have these when I was a student. I mean, I think a lot of the students, you know, we had this problem with like cold hands. Cold hands, you know, was to do with, you know, being nervous and things. And people sort of do these strange things, like, you know, they'd wear gloves right up until the point they played, and then, or they'd be running their hands under hot taps, or holding these like weird things which kind of warm their hands up. And I remember, you know, having real feeling of cold hands all the time. And then one day I just thought, you know, I'm just going to have to get used to playing with cold hands, because it's just never going to go away. And ever since that point, I've never had cold hands.
Yeah, I had a similar thing. Yeah, it's acceptance, isn't it?
Yeah, you just accept it.
Resignation.
It's like accepting that you're going to feel nervous, you're going to feel tense. Yeah. Once you've accepted it, it's sort of, you can work with it.
Wow, I should take a leaf from your book. I haven't accepted it yet. I'm constantly...
Well, it's like accepting playing with this lot. You've just got to get on with it.
You seem bored, Chris?
No, no, it's fantastic.
He wants his lunch.
We do try to avoid doing too much playing on the day of a concert. I mean, that's quite important. I mean, that may be the only ritual. I think gone are the days of trying to play a lot. I think we tend to have we have bullet point meetings. We actually talk through a lot. So we actually sort of talk through points of the pieces, maybe sit around for an hour and just discuss tempos and things. But on the whole, we really don't play hard at all on the day of a concert.
I think also it's a question of working out who's forgotten what just before a concert. Like, who's not got the right shoes? Has Mark got the music? I don't know whether he wants to say this story.
No,
but...
I don't want to talk about that.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of like whether we've got one brown shoe, one black shoe, whether, you know, all that sort of thing. I think
they're very precious. They're very about their outfits.
I have forgotten quite a few things before a concert.
Yeah.
But getting used to the room as well. I think, you know, just that's one of the important things. You know, getting into the venue and getting a feel of the acoustic, and, you know, getting our how close we sit, and so we can make sure we can hear each other and see each other. Those things.
Actually, about acoustics, because depending on the room you're in, does it depend on the room whether you're mic'd or not? Are you never mic'd, or sometimes mic'd?
Yeah, when we go to the States quite a lot, and we play in pretty big venues over there, and so we're always mic'd pretty much over there, and that can take a little while to sort out, because we don't take our own equipment with us, so we're kind of reliant on their good microphones and PA and all the rest of it. But generally, it's been very good.
Yes, I mean, I think sometimes they get the wrong idea of what we are. We did a concert recently in Bellingham, and we turned up, and it was this huge hall. It was a really big hall, and they set up the stage with these massive monitors in front of every seat, with a mic for everyone, and it was just way over the top. And they were very good. They took it all away, and we were left with just a couple of mics, just to lift the sound a little bit. So that's what we're going for, really.
Yeah, I thought they were getting the Rolling Stones.
No, they think guitar, and they suddenly it's a rock concert, and then actually, as soon as we explained that actually, you know, it's very, very much an acoustic setup in the sense that, you know, what the audience want to hear is that sort of natural acoustic sound, and as soon as you say, you know, just slightly ambient, you know, amplification, so just 2 microphones, very low down, you know, which are miking as a whole, not individually, but as a whole ensemble, and then they immediately get it. So they've got some great equipment these days, so it does sound very, very natural. And that's, you know, when you play quietly on stage and you're in a big theatre, then, you know, they want to feel that they are being drawn into it still. So it has to be really, really natural and kind of good like that. But, you know, the sound can change sometimes on stage as well. So when we're sitting as an ensemble, sometimes we can sit a little bit further apart. But if it's one of those situations where you can't almost hear the other person on the other side of the quartet, that can be difficult then, because it's, you know, there are sort of weird acoustics, and you have to sit just a little bit tighter together so you can, you know, just be on the ball a little bit more with the ensemble.
I was going to ask, actually, in rehearsals, I mean, you've been playing together for a while, but Amanda, I think you're relatively new to the group, aren't you? So when she joined, gentlemen, be honest, was she somebody who suddenly played, you know, far too loud and you had to tone it down, or did you have to bring her out of her shell? I mean, how do you tactfully rehearse in that situation, you know, sort of getting used to somebody?
They're not tactful
We're not very tactful. I think that's it.
That's the way around it.
I think, if anything, it made us look at our own playing. I think we didn't really have any issues in that sense. I really mean that genuinely. I think it's sort of it slotted together almost immediately. And I think if, you know, hopefully we're all good musicians, we're all going for the same kind of ideas, and if it's a very democratic process, I think hopefully if we're good at what we do, it should work, and it certainly has done. I think more importantly, actually, with an ensemble like this, it's more about our approach and our belief in the music we're playing, and also how we get on as people, I think, is almost more crucial, because the actual job itself is a pleasure to do. So it's then about our personalities, and that was the biggest thing, and it worked straight from day one, really.
Yeah, I think the big thing that we do work on is the fact that, because we're 4 standard guitars, well, kind of apart from Chris with his extra 7th string, we're kind of working at colour the whole time. So obviously in a string quartet situation, that's slightly different, but so we're working at the type of sounds we're trying to produce, whether we're trying to blend at one point or whether we're trying to be completely opposite from one another. So yeah, we spend a huge amount of time kind of working on that sort of thing. But Amanda fitted in perfectly. To answer your question.
Robert asks, what's your favourite part of touring together? You obviously have a miserable time. I can tell you hate each other. He said, what's your favourite thing? What's your favourite?
Oh dear.
Well, it's there's so many things. Yeah,
that was a surprise on my first tour.
Yeah,
the amount of
it's certainly tasting different beers in different towns. You know, all
choosing
that kind
the
of
restaurants.
Yeah, I love the after concert social gathering. You know, you've done the concert, you're very sort of, you know, it's quite intense before. You put a lot of work in, you do the concert, and then there's that release afterwards, and everyone relaxes. We often go out, have a nice drink, and often, every time. It's a very, very fun social occasion, and that's the wonderful thing about the quartet. You know, there's so many different sort of dynamics within the group.
And
so yeah.
Do you meet up with local guitarists when you're on tour? Are there?
Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes. I mean, we often do. What we do. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because guitar. That's the weird thing about guitar, is because it's kind of got one foot in the sort of classical world and one foot in the sort of popular music world as well. You get these you get these guitarists who just sort of come out of the town, and, you know, like, and there'll be a music society, and they have like their very traditional set of people who come along to all the concerts in their series, and then suddenly they have a guitarist, and a whole new sort of area of audience comes along, which are mostly kind of guitarists and or people who are into you know, either they play electric, but they've kind of gone into trying to find out about other music, and that's where they sort of like latch onto a concert like ours. So, and we often do see, you know, people afterwards who come along and ask questions, technical questions about the guitar often. But we also do, you know, we often travel around, we do classes.
We do a lot of outreach work.
We do outreach work and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it can be, some of the tours can be quite mixed. So, you know, be doing one thing, it's not just like concert after concert. It can be quite interesting. I mean, it's quite fun to do a class somewhere at a university or something like that. And that will be, you know, it's just nice to have a slightly less hectic day and, you know, kind of be more reflective.
I think on Friday we're doing a day of workshops, aren't we?
Yes.
We're doing educational work on Friday, and we're often with concerts there's an attachment of educational work as well, which is great fun to do. You know, and they may be quite advanced guitarists, they may be sometimes quite beginners, you know, but it's good fun.
Are they usually school-age children?
They can be. Yes. Not all the time. I mean, it might be for adults as well. You know, and so a complete mixture, I think.
And then it's great because then they'll hopefully they will then come to the concert as well and experience, you know, get that sort of live music experience.
Pub with you afterwards.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know.
Felicity's asking, what instruments do you play on?
I play on a Christopher Dean guitar, who's actually Oxfordshire based, and so does Mark.
Same here, and Chris.
Yeah.
So I'm the odd one out. I play a Dutch guitar by Bert Quackle. Quackle with 3 Ks.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyway,
That's so Dutch.
Is that an issue with blending then? Probably not, from what you've been saying.
It wasn't actually. I mean, I was slightly, you know, just sort of think, oh, you know, I mean, I knew that we all play spruce top.
Spruce, that's the key.
The sort of top of the guitar is either traditionally spruce or cedar, so they have, you know, very different characteristics, and we all play spruce. So but no, they do. They work really well together.
They work very well, don't they?
Yeah.
They're actually very similar instruments.
Yeah. And Chris has the extra 7th string.
I have an extra 7th string, which is an idea really that comes from the Los Angeles Guitar Quartet, because when you're arranging such massive textures, the guitar has plenty of room at the top of the instrument, but at the lower register, there's very, very little you can do with this low. So having an extra bass, having an extra taut 7th string means we can tackle bigger pieces.
What pitch is it? The lowest string?
Well, it moves a lot. I mean, it moves
not by mistake. It moves.
No, we use it in tune. Depending on the piece, the lowest I go is down to a very, very low G, which then it's very hard to play on them because the string tension is so loose, but it's possible. We're doing a piece by Vaughan Williams at the moment, and the bass line is fairly static, and that's beautiful. It works very well, but it moves from a low G, normally an A, and it just gives that extra kick we need, particularly for the George Gershwin, the Rhapsody in Blue. That would have been almost impossible without the low A. Really.
Yeah, actually, but you have a special string. It's a special string made by D'Addario, and they have this, like, you just get them on their scent on their own. So it's quite a unique kind of, you know, even that, but they make a fantastic string.
Yeah, it's a great string. It's thicker. It's harder tension, so it doesn't wobble so much.
Right.
Chris just likes to be different, basically.
Right.
He's just showing off.
Special.
We've got an extra special thing. We let him talk about it. Have you ever used? There was a concert on a few years ago at the Royal Albert Hall in the Proms where the orchestra used iPads instead of sheet music. Have you done anything like that?
We only use iPads.
Yes, we do. We've got all our iPads right here in the rehearsal. So yeah, we're completely iPadded out now.
We haven't used scores now, well, for 5-6 years.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well, we saw a girl in the States. I think it was Martha Masters. We saw, and I think because we were carrying so much music and there was just nowhere for us to page turn, we were doing these kind of big reductions of orchestral scores, and you just couldn't. It was just a massive, this brick wall almost of music. And we tried it out. Well, I was the guinea pig. I tried it out, and we use these pedals, air turn pedals, and basically turning the page forwards or backwards. and it just works brilliantly, and it looks really nice as well. It just looks kind of, you know, as if almost like we're playing from memory, but it just doesn't clutter the stage at all, you know. And we haven't, touch wood, it hasn't gone wrong yet. We haven't turned anyone else's pages or.
Well, funny enough, though, I've just, because our last concert in Bellingham, I was saying to the guys that there's always that fear that just 10 minutes before you go on, something will crash. Now, we obviously have it all backed up, you know, on our drop boxes, but 10 minutes before you go on, if anything happens, that's going to be tricky. So I think it's good. We do carry the parts as backup. But touch wood, I think in all the time we've been using it, we haven't had a single problem.
I think Chris, there was one place where Chris forgot I think he didn't have his iPad with him.
Yeah.
So it went down to a mini iPad, an iPad mini, and he borrowed. It's the word for it, isn't it? Yeah. But so I think it's going to get smaller and smaller. We might be kind of reading off iPhones soon. You know, it might be quite difficult. But
so we have Tim asking how the quartet was formed.
That goes back quite a long way. I think initially I was playing on a festival with Mark as a duo in Iserlohn, the Guitar Symposium. This was about 10 years ago now, and we just done our concert, and then we heard the Los Angeles Guitar Quartet the next night, and it was fantastic. It was such a great vibe. The way the players worked together, the audience, everything. We thought, you know, this sounds like a great combination, and we knew we wanted to try and start something, a different direction to sort of go alongside the duo. So when we came back to the UK, we basically got it together and decided it was something we wanted to pursue, and then it just gathered momentum since then, really. So it's been going great ever since.
And why the name Vida?
That was just sitting round, I have to say, with a bottle of beer.
I think it was whiskey, wasn't it? I think it was a bottle of whiskey.
Well, we were playing a piece called La Vida Breve. It sort of means the life, you know, life. And we thought, well, you know, the word vida, life, represents exactly what we want to do within the music. And, you know, we've been doing chamber music and playing as guitarists now for so long. Vida's not new, really. It's just a new outlet for hopefully our artistic direction. And we thought the word life represents exactly what we want.
I think we had a book of baby names and a thesaurus and dictionary and everything to begin with.
And the Beatles didn't work, did it? So
yeah, that's already taken.
How broad is the repertoire, though, for you guys? Are you just sort of lifting a load of orchestral stuff, or is there a lot of stuff written specifically for guitar?
There is some written. There's quite a lot of stuff written for original stuff, but I think we particularly like for our quartet to do these arrangements, these kind of crazy arrangements, and that seems to have really taken shape, because I think we love doing all the kind of orchestral colour. The sound world is something we're
and it's I have to say, it's a real treat for guitarists when you're playing music by Vaughan Williams and Benjamin Britten and George Gershwin and Bizet and these great composers. You really do get an insight into the enormity of that kind of writing. And it's something that as guitarists we very rarely, you know, there's some beautiful pieces for guitar, but we very rarely get to play things that are true masterpieces on that level in such. I think that there are masterpieces, but every piece, I would say, in our concert is a masterpiece of writing.
We've just been actually rehearsing this morning quite a diverse thing, a thing called Rock Medley, which is based on British rock tunes from the past, I don't know, 30 odd years or something. And this was written by Nick Cartledge, a friend of ours. And it was really kind of tailored when we go over for the States. But we are playing it at Bristol tomorrow at Brandon Hill, and on Saturday night is our kind of first outing with this piece. But yeah, it'll be fun to kind of, you know, do this different type of repertoire as well.
And so when you do arrangements, do you do them yourselves, or are there particular people you go to?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we do them all ourselves. I mean, I think that's actually a big important part of the process. I think because you know, one of us. I mean, there is a collaboration at the end in terms of how we workshop it and kind of you know talk it over in any kind of rehearsal and working on the interpretation. But one of us usually takes on the project of arranging whatever particular piece or project we're going to do, and I think that brings us very, very close to understanding that music, so getting a really good idea of the orchestral texture behind it, the coloration of it, and what the music's about, the style and things like that. So I think doing that arrangement gets us very, very close to the understanding of the piece. So it's very, very much, if you just kind of buy in an arrangement or someone else's idea of a piece, or I don't know, whatever. So I think that leaves, an area where you don't really connect with it as well.
Yeah. It brings us actually to one of our polling questions, which is what makes a good ensemble? We've got 3 answers here that people can choose from: people who have a similar sound tone, people who get on well socially, and people who have similar tastes in music. Now, what would your answers be to that, guys? Which do you think of those 3 is the most important? They all.
Well, yeah, it's the middle one, because I don't think it's important. You can have differing tastes, and also I don't think the sound has to be the same. Certainly not on guitar. I think it's a great advantage to have differing sounds because we're all playing the same instrument.
Yeah.
So for me, I think longevity and creative working together, it's more about how you get on as people.
Yeah. And I think we generally have the same ideas. In a bigger picture, we have the kind of, even though the ideas may differ from bar to bar, of course, or piece to piece, but I think the end goal, we kind of all are striving for the same kind of thing. But I think Chris is right. Yeah, definitely. You spend so much time together, socially, and particularly on tour, that you just kind of have to get along, really.
We've nearly run out of time, but perhaps you could quickly tell us before we go what's coming up next. Where can we see you? What are you doing?
Okay. Well, tomorrow lunchtime we're at St George's, Brandon Hill, 1 o'clock, and then we've got these workshops that we're doing all day Friday, and then on Saturday night we're
playing on Saturday night. We're playing in a place called Churchill, which is in Somerset. It's a music society called Churchill Music, and you can look them up online. It's a fantastic society, been going on for near 20 years. And then the following week we'll be playing in Guildford as part of the Guildford Guitar Day. And then we shall be going to the States, and I believe we're playing. Is it Oklahoma? The first
one is New Orleans.
New Orleans.
That's June.
That's June. Sorry. Don't wait for us, please. June. New Orleans.
New Orleans and Atlanta. And Florida, somewhere in Florida.
Yeah.
Orlando. Oh, we're playing.
Kabak Festival.
Yeah.
Do we look like we haven't got a clue? Well, we really do. It's all on the website, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all on the website. Yeah.
Very good. And the website address is?
Just vidagq.com.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us today. It's been really nice to see you. And you can have lessons online with Mark and Amanda. Mark Ashford there in the brown jumper, Amanda in the white jumper, and hopefully Mark and Chris soon as well. So fingers crossed. Yay! Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Our little friends are flying through the galaxy.